During this initial year, I worked on various projects that laid a foundation in software engineering principles and practices. Many of the products were literally built from scratch to meet the specific requirements of the client and the business, whereas the answer lies in coming up with simple solution to a complex problem. In China, I had a choice either to go to the electronic era of work or work in software as such.
Hi everyone, welcome to the esteemed FaceTime with Leaders, an initiative by the World Development Corporation, and I am Esteemed, your host for today. FaceTime with Leaders is a platform for industry titans to share their experiences, thoughts, ideas, and best practices in order to inspire one another and future leaders. We have one such corporate leader with us today, Mr. Madhavrao Pachupate. He is a highly accomplished technologist with a rich experience of more than 2.5 decades, renowned for his proficiency in leveraging technology to drive business outcomes through innovative and simplified solutions. Recently, he worked as Director of Data Platform Architecture at the London Stock Exchange Group, a role whereby he was responsible for developing and implementing organizational data strategies aligned with the business objectives. His decade-long experience and proven expertise have culminated in the form of his entrepreneurial venture, wherein he develops a cutting-edge SaaS product designed to revolutionize professional services automation. Thank you so much, Madhav, for joining us today.
Thank you.
So, to begin with, can you just give us a brief overview of your professional journey in the IT industry of over 23 years and more?
So my professional journey in IT, thank you for the question. My professional journey in the IT industry has been both diverse and enriching. It spans over 23 years, and here's a brief overview. I began my career as a software developer, where I honed my coding skills, system designs, and project management skills. And during this initial year, I worked on various projects that laid a foundation in software engineering principles and practices. I'm basically electronic engineer. I'm not a computer engineer, and that always led a thought that I have something lesser. I know something lesser than other people who have done computer engineering or IT engineering as such, and that made me push myself a little bit harder in understanding the foundation knowledge of computer engineering, and it really helped. During my career at Blue Star Infotech, which spanned over 10 years, then with Synechron, which spanned over 12 years, 1 year with LSEC, and now, running my own entrepreneurial company as such. So it wasn't a disadvantage being an electronic engineer. It actually turned out to be an advantage, knowing that I don't know something which is very, very specific to this industry. I actually read all the syllabus books of computer engineering to understand what is actually there in computer engineering syllabus as such. And that is where I'm more technology focused person. I like to solve problems, and I use technology to solve problems, make business more efficient as such. There are many stories which I can narrate about how I have used technology to improve the business and give a solution in a very short span of time, in very shorter, expensive solution as such. But we'll take it up later sometime. During my career with Synechron, I was working for a client in Asia Pacific and Japan, where my role was basically of chief technology architect, but it was more like a chief technology officer, where I was involved in overseeing the entire IT departments, driving technology innovations and aligning IT strategies with business goals. I played a key role in digital transformation initiatives, implementing cutting-edge solutions to enhance operational efficiency and customer experience. We basically migrated 30 plus applications which were on-premise into AWS cloud, built on single stack. And many of the products were literally built from scratch to meet the specific requirements of the client and the business. And it was a mammoth experience, project of 2 years actually, transformation of. But what it did basically, it enabled the client to enable digital services with the customers. Prior to that, when the entire stack was on-premise, it was very difficult to engage customers in digital services, which is currently possible. So those 2 years of transformation, it really helped to scale the business operations into the Asia Pacific and Japan region. Most recently, I've embarked on an entrepreneur journey where I'm trying to build a software for professional service automation, which will solve problems of a lot of small and medium scale entrepreneurs in India. And it has good market in Europe as well as US actually. What happens basically is there are a lot of softwares which tries to solve problems of different areas. We are trying to integrate all of the softwares in a single platform so that CTO or CFO doesn't have to wait for 4-5 days to get a report on operational efficiency and where they need to do action. They can literally see it every day morning when they get up and have a watch it what's really happening actually. What are the problems companies facing and where they can really improve the efficiency of the organization. In current world, when the technology is changing so rapidly and people are not skilled, how do we skill them efficiently and bring them to a level where they can be trained efficiently, or should we go to the route of the contractor? Those kind of decision making for CXO level will be very easy once they start using the software which we are trying to build actually.
That's amazing.
That's all about my journey as such.
And which of the roles and functions have you enjoyed the most so far?
So I have always been a troubleshooter in my organization. So let's say there's a project or account where there's a problem. That's where they normally used to call me and say, okay, let's try to find a solution for this. And what I've always seen is it's not the problem which are complex. It's the understanding the problem which basically takes time. Once you understand the problem, the solutions are very simple. As a human being, we tend to come up with the complex solutions to even a simple problem. Whereas the answer lies in coming up with simple solution to a complex problem.
Always.
Always, actually. Yeah. And that's where, I can say, I have mastered the art of problem solving, basically. I can, for me, a problem solving it's very enriching experience because it's like, this is something which I made for. And what I've always seen is, since people come up with complex problems, that leads to a lot of other issues, which are like environmental issues or ethical issues. Whereas simple solutions never have those kind of correlations. They're very easy, efficient, and easy to implement actually. And I actually do a lot of research on how people think, study about the mental models, and how does what kind of food affects your thinking process, what kind of routine you should have to be very efficient as such. And not all of it has helped, but many a times I've seen that how a person address a problem, it's entirely dependent on his belief system. Yeah. If you approach a problem and if you think you cannot solve the problem, you will not be able to solve the problem. Correct. The first thing you need to do is you need to believe that the problems can be solved. And most of the time, what I've seen is to solve problem efficiently, all you have to do is decide on constraints. What constraints are you going to put in order to solve those problems? Now, that is extremely important in the era of ESG, where we are talking about environmental and social responsibilities. What are we talking about? We are all talking about the constraints in which the business should operate, so that it is not only efficient for the business, but it's also efficient for the environment and social responsibilities. And if you choose the right constraints, you will get the right solution, which can not only solve the problem, but will also be beneficial to other people in around.
Correct. And what inspired you to pursue a career in technology, and what keeps you motivated in this field that's like rapidly changing and rapidly evolving?
So, see, I basically come from middle class family. My dad was in Mumbai police, and the era which I come from, like I was born in 1980s, people used to repair everything. They used to repair TV, they used to repair radio. We don't have radios nowadays, but they used to repair radios. Even umbrella used to get repaired. Even shoes get repaired actually. And that actually, people from my era in 1980s, they love to dismantle things and build it again. Nowadays, kids use Lego cubes to build that kind of attitude. But we used to build those attitude by breaking things and making it again, and that basically improves your curiosity about things, how things really work actually. And what I've seen is, so the project which I did in my engineering college was for BRC, Baba Atomic Research Center at Tarapur, where we were trying to automate the waste management facility in Tarapur. There were a lot of sensors which used to be controlled to circuitry, and we can open and close wall by looking at the screen and clicking on the button on the screen. And that was so what I can say. It was a kind of experience. I was like, okay, if I can open and close a wall in a waste management plant, I can also do that at my home. Before I reach home, I can make sure the lights are turned on.
Yeah.
Okay. If my clothes have been washed in washing machine, I can get an indication that they are washed and I need to pull them out and put in a dryer. That's kind of sense of automating everything led me to deal with the technology. Now, being an electronic engineer, I had a choice either to go to the electronic era of work or work in software as such. Working in software, I will say the ROI was much better. When I say ROI, what I meant is the amount of effort you put to build a solution and the quality of solution you get is very easy. In electronic, what happens is, first of all, in India, we didn't have infrastructure at that time that to have all those kind of circuitries and everything to make things possible. Nowadays, you get it very easily. But during 80s and 90s, it was not there actually. And so I felt that ROI was not that great if I try to venture into electronics. I started my career with assembling PCs and building networks for companies when I was in third year of engineering. But after my engineering, I decided let me get into software because this seems to be a place where we can make more impact as such. The first software which I built was for medical practitioners, the doctors. So they can record the patient's information, and when the patient visits again, you can give the prescription. It was something which I did in 2 months' time, and it brought immense value to doctors who were using the software. And same thing, when I was working in various projects across the industry, the value which I can bring to table using technology, working in software, is immensely beneficial. Like look at the UPI basically. It's a small software, but what else? It has changed the entire world. So those are the crucial parts of the solution. It looks like a business solution, but it also impacts the entire environment, entire culture of the country for that matter. If a person from India goes to US or UK, they find it very difficult because they are not equipped with UPI the way we are equipped in India as such. It's still transactional over there. You still pay by card or pay by cash over there. In India, you can't even think about doing. Nobody carries cash in India nowadays. So a small software solution like UPI can change things. So just imagine the power software can bring, technology can bring to the table actually.
But I think it all started with a curious bent of mind for you, and it's very interesting to know this. But how and when did you realize your potential in ESG and in corporate governance?
Wow. So when I was doing this project, which I told you about transformation in Asia Pacific for one of the client, the sheer the carbon footprint which we reduced by moving this 30 solutions from on-premise to cloud was huge. In terms of cost saving, their cost got stripped down to almost 1/10 of the total cost they were paying for the data centers. Okay. And what happens with that cost saving basically? First of all, when you run a data center, basically you're relying on this hardware which the data center has brought, and they will keep it running for years even if the better hardware is available because they have invested money in it and they want to make it run for longer duration so that they can earn profits. Now you move to cloud, what will happen is these people can change the hardware at faster rate because they have that kind of bandwidth actually, and they know that every pound or every penny which they are saving, it can give them immense return because the volume is quite huge actually. What it does basically, it not only saves money for the businesses, it also helps the environment to a great extent. Because your carbon footprint is getting reduced, and the way they manage the operations is much more environmental friendly compared to another data center somewhere else in it. So the impact which I understood technology can make on ESG in that project, it really helped me figure out let's explore this topic further and find out. People are talking about ESG, but what's there in that area as such? And that's where I started attending workshops and seminars on ESG and understand how technology can really impact the environment in much better way.
And as a corporate governance and ESG expert, what values do you bring to the table?
See, as a ESG expert, corporate governance expert or ESG expert, what values I can bring to table? It depends upon, or for that matter, anybody can bring to the table. It's based upon what belief system they carry. Okay. Yeah. So basically, values stem out of belief system. So if I believe that ESG is important, corporate governance is important, a fair treatment to everybody is important, integrity and transparency is important, sustainability is important, having a vision or strategic vision to organization is important, then automatically those things will transfer into whatever work I'm doing. Okay, integrity and transparency, every generation has claimed that it is deteriorating. You go back to 100 years or 150 years, you'll find people saying, people 15 years or 50 years or 60 years ago were more responsible, more disciplined, more having more integrity as such. Nowadays, people have lost it. It's not the case actually. It's just that we expect more. In every era, there are people who are adorable, like Ratan Tata. Okay, there are people whom you feel like they are not doing the right thing, like Nirav Mehta, the lack of integrity, you can say. But then what I feel is when people say there is lack of integrity in current era, it's just that the emphasis on integrity, the emphasis on responsibility is always been more in human race. It's not that it has been diminishing over a period of time. And people who believe in those values are the one who drive the economy or drive the world as such. Because if everybody thinks, just because business is going to benefit, let me cut down the forest, there will be no forest in this world actually.
Which is what we are seeing is really happening. Like, I think we need.
Then there are people who believe that forest should exist even when the business needs to be thrived. And those are the people who make sure that our world is sustainable. It's something which is livable. People use this phrase, we should save the world. World is going to be saved. Only thing is going to happen is it's going to turn into a state where it is not going to be possible for humans to survive. When we say we have to save the world, it's not the world which needs to be saved. It needs to be saved. We need to save ourselves basically, and that can be done only by adopting the right values as such. Okay, integrated transparency are very heart of the effective corporate governance. I believe in maintaining very high standards and openness in all business dealings. Okay. This involves clear communication and ethical decision makings and fostering culture of accountability. Similarly, when it comes to any stakeholder engagements, being fair is something which is very important. Now, as I mentioned, the word fair is very relative. What is fair? It depends upon the context of the person. In any engagement, there's a table and there are people at the two sides of the table. Every person on either side of the table thinks he's doing a fair judgment of the situation. Ideally, what is fair is when you look at the persons which are the other side of the table and look into their perspective and make decisions. And it has to be beneficial to you, but at the same time, it has to be beneficial to other person also. You should not steamroll other people for your benefits as such. And that is something which is required to happen very much in business section. There's, I don't remember the phrase, but basically is in farming, they say that if you want to have a good crop, make sure that your neighbor's field also have a good crop. Because if he's having insects and everything, they are going to hurt you actually. So if you want to thrive in a business, you make sure that your ecosystem, your vendors, your suppliers, everybody is benefiting and they're growing. You are not growing at the at the expense of those people who are actually helping your business grow.
So if we have to move ahead, we have to carry along everyone in that journey. So very interesting. What changes do you expect to see with the advent of IoT, AI, ML, blockchain, and what are the ways you wish to leverage these technologies in your field and in the corporate world? You've given some glimpse of it with your answers already, but beyond that, if there's anything more that you wish to add.
So this is a quite big topic actually, but let me try to cover it in as few words as possible. So when you talk about IoT, IoT is like everywhere. I have a Samsung Smart TV at my home, and I can actually check who is watching what kind of episode or what kind of serials on the TV when I'm outside the house by application on my phone. I can actually monitor my washing machine, my fridge on my phone. I have a robo cleaner at home, which basically cleans, and that is also something which can be monitored on my phone. So basically, the entire there are too many machines right now which are connected to internet and generating a lot of data, and this data also helps us to analyze how they're functioning. So probably I'm not using the data for checking how it is functioning, but probably the companies which have manufactured these devices, they might be getting some amount of data to check, which decisions has been paid off and what they need to improve in the given system as such. So that's where the IoT plays a very important role to improve the life of the overall people as such. Coming to artificial intelligence and machine learning, I don't need to add anything about ChatGPT, the kind of thing it has created in last 1 year. And so, we were having discussions on what is artificial intelligence all about is actually. So making sure that other person does something what you are instructing him to do. Like when you hire somebody junior in an organization, you train him, you tell him, how this particular task has to be done. Now, sometimes it takes 2 days for a particular junior, sometimes it takes a month for a person to understand. With AI, you can tell it to machine in minutes actually. Okay. So mundane tasks can be very easily done, but I still feel the creative work is still required to be done by humans, with how to use things, what has been delivered by it. And it can really help in a lot of decision making and a lot of things where we waste time in hierarchy in making decisions. For example, let's say there's an expense to be approved of 10,000 rupees, and the limit in the organization is 5,000 rupees. So if there are no policies created for 10,000 rupees expense to be claimed as such, it goes into a complete stagnant mode. It takes a lot of follow-ups to get it cleared as such. With AI, you can build those kind of policies where every decision can be structured. And if there's a particular instance where decision cannot be taken because policy is not been created, what can happen is we can give a guidance or knowledge how those policies can be formulated if they are not existing as such. It's going to be a bit risky and ethically challenging to build something like that, but it's something which can be done over a period of time. I am really eager to wait for 2029 when I believe there will be another chip which will be released, which will revolutionize AI to a very great extent. And coming to blockchain, it has made sharing documents very easy. So blockchain is another technology which is having a huge impact in our life. We will have a huge impact in our life in future. Actually, it's still having right now, but the impact as we see in future will be much bigger. What it does basically, it helps you to kind of you can see, you can have a copy of a document in a blockchain, and you can be sure that it's not going to get tampered. Now, think about, what kind of documents we maintain at a home. We have these property documents, we have a birth certificate, we have a death certificate, we have mark sheets, we have driving license. Many of these documents you can actually keep it in DigiLocker right now. A DigiLocker solution which is provided by Government of India, and many of the organizations, like if you want to open a demat account, you don't really give them the documents. You basically say get the document from DigiLocker. Okay, and many of these educational institutes are also publishing the mark sheets in DigiLocker. I see a future where everything will be going DigiLocker, and if anybody wants a credible document, instead of asking him, give me a printout or Xerox copy or scan copy of your document, they'll say, give me access to DigiLocker and give me access to these documents as such. So you don't have to worry about the documents being stolen or being tampered with, and that is the efficiency it brings to the table actually. Okay, just imagine the amount of land record dispute we have in this country. If all of them get digitized, it will be very difficult for somebody to just encroach in another person's land and create a havoc. So it will be more. It will be difficult to create problems by manipulating documents, but it's something which will have a huge impact on future. How we adopt it is something which is again challenging, because what happens in any society, there are a couple of people who make these decisions. Those people will be elected members, and their decisions also driven by the interest of the people who have put them over there. Now we feel that since we vote, we have put them over there, but in order to run election campaign, they need to spend a lot of money. Those money come from few individuals, which basically dictates what decision they take. And that's where, how technology get adopted into the society gets challenged. I'm really happy to see India spending so much of money on UPI and other things, which has improved the life of the, of the community. But they need to do more actually, and they need to set a model for the entire world how technology can really enhance the life of the people actually. Coming to cloud computing, as I mentioned, the carbon footprint can be drastically reduced if you use cloud computing. Many of the entrepreneurs which we see nowadays, they have been able to be an entrepreneur just because of cloud computing. You cannot expect every company to have their own data centers and run the softwares. It's so costly that people will not even think of starting a business. There are people which are solopreneurs who build applications within a weekend and they sell it online, make some profit. All those things wouldn't have been possible without cloud computing. Okay, so all of these technologies, whether it's AI, whether it's IoT, whether it's a blockchain, whether it's big data, plays immense role in easing the life of the people.
And also, it like the impact on environment is also it's so less.
Yes.
A double-edged sword like that.
Now, so coming back to that topic of environment, see why ESG is so important is if somebody has built a data center spending huge amount of money, they are reluctant to go to the cloud because they've already made an investment and the money is locked into it. And normally they say that if you invest time or money into something and you don't see value in it, you're still stuck with that particular thing. It takes an outsider to come and tell him the value of abandoning that particular solution and going and adopting something new from scratch. Actually, it's like taking a decision saying, if I have to take decision today, will I build my data center or I will go to cloud? The decision will be always to go to cloud. So why are you sticking to the data center? So you need people to go and tell people who run businesses to take those kind of decisions so that the impact on the environment is lessened over a period of time. And when I talk about the solution which I'm trying to build, the professional service automation, that's where what we're trying to build is a solution which will optimize opportunity to cash cycle basically. So people will be able to track the opportunities which they are chasing right now. What is the probability of getting those opportunity converted into actual projects? What are the challenges in executing those projects, what kind of resources we require, what kind of resources we have, doing a forecast of those resource planning. And if those resources required are of different skill set than what you have, can you bridge that gap by training the current resources, and how you can plan to bridge those gaps. The most wonderful thing about technology is when you run a project and you use, let's say, 5 or 6 technologies in that given project, you don't use 100% of the entire technology in that project. You hardly use 15 to 20%. If you have done an excellent solutioning around a technology, you might use 50% of features of the technology. But what happens is when you interview somebody, a candidate for a project opportunity, you grill him on the entire 100%. And many a times you reject a candidate because he didn't use something which was not even required for the project as such. And that's where the gap comes. There are a lot of people who are required in the industry for the job to be filled. There are a lot of people who have knowledge, but they feel that they are not fit. Because when somebody is taking an interview for a particular position, they just come to know, okay, I want a person on AI and ML. So an AI and ML person should know this 15, 20 things actually. In a project, the person might require only to know 5 things, and the work can be done. So how do I identify the gap which is in the requirement and what people are trying to look for? That kind of bridge can be minimized in the solution which I'm trying to build, and that is something which will be the one of the example which I always try to project is about Zoho. They formed the company by hiring people from villages who are just 10 pass, trained them on technology, made them engineers, and they built a software now which is worth $1 billion. Okay, so and that's a much better example of social responsibility, making sure that upliftment of the people who are the lowest strata of the society have been brought up actually. So if Zoho can do it, why can't people of other organizations can do it actually? The only reason they can't do it because it's not easy to do it. It takes effort. If we can remove the effort part of it by having some solution in place, then more and more organizations will be willing to go for that path in choosing people who can do the job, not choosing people who have labels of degrees and coming from particular organization as such.
This is great. I love your vision and I wish you all the best in this endeavor. So finally, we are building a community of industry magnets, and this move is meant for cross-pollination of knowledge and for building a knowledge-sharing community of corporate giants and industry experts. What are your thoughts about this initiative taken by Mr. Zishan Pathan, Mr. Heval Mehta, and the whole WDC team?
I really feel great about what they are doing, Zishan Patel and Heval Mehta. What they're trying to do is people. So one of the things which is happening in World Development Corporation is they are trying to build industry magnates or leaders together. And one thing which probably very different about this community compared to other communities is there are people coming from diverse industries and diverse experience and such. And that's where the cross-pollination of ideas can happen when these people talk to each other. Giving a platform where people from different experience come together and share their vision or share their ideas or share what is possible or share what they want to happen, but they think it cannot happen because of certain limitations. The person from another industry will be able to guide him. You think this is limitation, but in my industry, you can actually use it as an advantage. Okay, just look at how the transformation has happened in this world. Actually, look at the Uber, look at the Oyo experience. Actually, these are the kind of solutions which were unthinkable. Actually. Now, why do you think the owner of Oyo would have been able to build Oyo on his own? It's not possible, actually. He was lucky to be assisted by a lot of other people to build this organization to a level where it is not only benefiting him, it's also benefiting all of the people. Actually, how cheap it is now to go into any new place and get a place to stay. Actually, it wasn't the same story before the Oyo came. Actually, and it's not just cheap place. it's also clean and following certain standards, which is something which is assured by OA actually. The same thing happens with Uber and Ola actually. So all of these things is possible only when people from a diverse background come and meet together. And whatever Jisan Patel and Hevel Mehta is doing, it will bring a lot of value to the table. The community, building a community is not an easy task actually. It takes a lot of vision, a lot of efforts, a lot of convincing to people, to build something like that. And I feel they have done a commendable job in doing that. And all the best for their future endeavors and making sure this community grow. And that's all.
Thank you so much. This was great and it was lovely conversing with you. I am so sure that all your insights will inspire our future leaders. Thank you for joining us today, and I wish you all the very best for your future endeavors and all the amazing work that you're doing.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.